What to do, and welcome to the Liquid Force Drop Top Podcast with your host, Tom Fouché. He started as an intern at LF, now he's the general manager. DW Don Wallace joins me on this episode as we hear about the diversity and what makes him what he is and how he started from the bottom and now he's here.
Yo!
What to do, DW?
What's happening, Tom?
Oh man, that was my cheesy effort on a rhyme right there.
I love the what to do.
Oh man, so what's
I also love the picture that I have for you when you call me.
Oh
it's
no.
like it's good, but it's like a really funny picture from Bro Stock back in the day. Makes me chuckle.
Am I missing a tooth?
You might be, but your mouth is closed, so I couldn't tell.
Okay, well, you know, it was funny. I remember I went to Wake the Line one year, and literally a week later, I went to Brostock and I had knocked a tooth out at Wake the Line, and I just like flaunted this missing tooth while we were at Bull Shoals the entire time we were there. So usually when I hear a picture of me in Brostock, it's probably with a missing tooth.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely in this picture looked like you would have fit in the zone we were in. So, but I didn't notice the tooth.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, I still dream of fitting in the days of Brostock.
I definitely would not fit in these days. I know that, and I'm proud of that.
Hey, that's why I said dream. It doesn't mean I do either. Oh man, so what's new, man? I haven't gotten to chat or speak with you since you guys took the epic trip to Tahoe, right?
Oh yeah, we were. It's funny that you say that because I was going to mention something about Aaron Grace because he rode with me. We went up to the WSIA, the Water Sports, Industry Association event up at Palisades, and I was talking to Aaron this morning, telling him he knows I was going to be on this podcast with you, and he was bragging about how many listens he had on his. Sounds like it's one of the better ones, and so I told him I'm going to try to triple his. So we better make this one good. And I might recruit my wife Susan to help promote it too, because she seems to have a better following than I do on Instagram.
Hey, the race is on, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and drop you a little hint here. There might be a question for you later that I might reference race, or it's a clue to it. So I like where you're at, but the race is on. Perfect. Yeah, the showdown between you and Grace. Well, maybe
nice.
I'm going to be the antagonizer and be like, you guys should put some sort of wager on it,
Perfect. I'm all for it. But yeah, the trip up there was awesome because we I don't know if the listeners know this, but the industry basically has a get together every year that the WSIA puts on, and it's funny because we're a water sports industry and this event is always in the snow, but since I love snow sport activities, it's great. And we hadn't had it for the past couple seasons, so it was really fun to get back up in Tahoe and get together with it's all the different industry people. So people in my position for all the brands and, team managers from the other brands, some athletes were there, some sales reps were there. And we talk about certain things like water safety and responsibility and warning labels and that kind of stuff. But then we also just have a lot of fun. So it's good. And we tend to hang out with the Maniac tour, Corey and Bill from Alliance. So
that was going to be my next question for sure. Was there a Chinese downhill?
There was, but so I think everybody's afraid of me, and they always the last couple times, because I've won it in the past. The last couple times they've timed it when I'm in the WSIA board meeting, so I can't even compete. So Grace won this year, but I'm saying it's by default. So But we actually, it's funny, we're talking about doing it kind of big time next year and hoping we can get more people to show up early and maybe do it the day before the event. And, hopefully get a lot of athletes there and just turn it into more of a mini bro stock party at the end of the day at the base of Palisades. So it should be fun. We'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, they can't count you out. If you're holding more trophies to this than anybody, then I think you get like the say of, the right of say on when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought, but whatever. It's fine.
Man, so I kind of want to start at the very beginning with you, like as I do with everybody. And I personally kind of know a little bit of your story, but aside from it, I don't know it all. I want to know, how did you? I mean, man, tell us how you got into the wake. What brought you here?
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty, I don't know, I think it's an interesting story because it's a lot of luck involved, but right place, right time for a lot of my scenarios, but obviously hard work too. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in Northern California, little town, Nevada City, in between. It's basically in between Sacramento and Tahoe. Um, and it's our claim to fame is that it's where gold was first found in California. So
Ah,
it's a tiny little town, and it's basically a little mining town, but um, it gets a lot of exposure in like Sunset Magazine and some of those things just because of the historical side of it. But yeah, rad town, close to the mountains. So grew up, skiing a ton and you know, mountain biking and doing all sorts of other, regular team sports and stuff. But my junior year in high school, I think, yeah, there are a lot of lakes around us, a lot of little lakes like Rollins Lake and Bullard's Bar and Englebright, just some beautiful lakes. But my family wasn't really a boating family. Like my parents, if we were on a boat, it was our little metal boat to go fishing and stuff. And
right.
my junior year in high school, it might have even been earlier than that. But anyway, I had a girlfriend in high school who her family was really into water sports. Wakeboarding was a newer thing for them, but they had grown up water skiing, and so I kind of got introduced to the sport of wakeboarding through her and some people that she worked with at one of the local, sporting
Nice.
stores.
Mind if I
And
back up and just ask you what year is
yeah,
this?
so this is probably, so I graduated high school in '92, so this would have been like, yeah, 1990, I guess.
Wow.
Um,
That's
so
original days of wakeboarding. I
yeah,
think we're
I mean,
saying it wrong. Skiboarding back then.
yeah, it was.
Or
Well, the
scurfing.
funny thing is, so I didn't start on a Scurfer. I started on a Hyperlight. I think it was literally just the Hyperlight. And so I remember my friends, we were so isolated. We thought the sport was called hyperlighting. Like we were, which it's so funny. I don't know if I've ever told Greg Nelson or CJ or any of the guys over there, but I always thought it was super funny. And then the cool kid in town like introduced us to like the Shapiro Pro. And then I think at that point, maybe there was no Brian board on our boat. I don't think Wake Tech was even out until I was in college. I don't even remember the timeline, but yeah, it was a long time ago. And I hadn't really been, I don't even know if I'd ever been water skiing, maybe once or something on double skis,
Oh,
but
nice.
yeah, so that was pretty much how I got into the sport. And then my parents surprised my brother and I and actually bought us a boat my senior year. And it wasn't anything fancy. It was just an inboard outboard sea swirl.
Well, I don't think there was anything fancy actually back then as far as water sports
I mean,
go.
there were, I mean, there weren't wakeboard boats, but I remember
Mhm.
seeing like a Malibu skier on the
Yeah.
lake and things like that. But the funny thing is that my dad said he and my mom were debating on just either getting a couple jet skis or getting a boat, and not talking to my brother and I. And I'm like, man, like, I mean, I'm sure I would have probably figured a way into Wake anyway, but I'm like,
Right.
that really changed my life. Like, if they bought those jet skis, I don't think I would have been as fired up on the sport of wakeboarding as I became. And so, yeah, so we got the boat and that just became the thing we would do, all summer. And we went with my parents a lot, but then they let us go a lot. And so, we just my brother had some friends and I had some friends that were just like, we quickly got obsessed with it. And
Wow.
none of us were ever any good. We all actually kind of sucked, but I mean, my brother was probably the best out of all of us, but we would like just try some of the dumbest tricks. And I mean, we just thought we were so cool because we were wakeboarders, but
Oh, of
um,
course. Well, I think what's crazy to me is, and this is what's so different about your story than pretty much almost anybody that I've discussed with or chatted with, with the early days of wakeboarding is like a lot of wakeboarders, that around that age came from like a water ski background or something like that,
Yeah.
and don't just like blindly hop into hyperlighting,
Yeah.
or
Well, but that's why, but most people you're talking to are pros, right? So it's like, I
well,
do think,
yeah.
I do think that was a big, if I had gotten into it way younger
hmm
or was a younger generation where the boats are the way they are now, it would have been a different story. But yeah, no, I mean, I think about it all the time because I grew up really, I mean, my focus was even then, like my focus wasn't really skiing. Like I was a
hmm
ski racer late in life compared to a lot of my friends because before then, most of my focus was team sports. So
Right.
baseball, football, and that kind of stuff, which, to this day, as you know, I love, but
Oh yeah.
that was the start. And it wasn't until I got older that I kind of found my love for, wakeboarding and then all the other sports that kind of coincide with it,
Right.
so.
Well, that's what's again, yeah. It's just interesting because it's like, yeah, a surf background or a water ski background, and it's kind of it's refreshing to hear somebody that's like, no, I'm just diving right into this, kind of a lot more blind than most of us. So again, I'm with you, man. That's a super interesting story. So you're wakeboarding, you're there with your brother, and I'm curious. So what brought you to Liquid Force, or how did that what
Yeah,
decided you were
so
going to go this direction with, I guess you'd say, the
yeah, so
sport?
I graduated high school and then I went to well, I went to University UC Santa Barbara my freshman year just because I wanted to live at the beach, and
Did
that
not
was
know
awesome.
that.
My freshman year I went. I it was great. I mean, I had family down in Ventura and that area, and I just always thought Santa Barbara was cool, and it's an amazing place. I'd
Because
love
it
to live
is.
there right now. Yeah, exactly.
Because it is.
But but I missed the mountains too much, so I started looking into transferring, and I ended up transferring to University of Oregon, and um, they had a ski team. It wasn't NCAA, like it wasn't Division 1, but
Mhm.
it wasn't just a cheesy club. It was actually a competitive ski racing team, and so I looked into that, found out that I was essentially good enough to be on that team, and so yeah, so transferred to Oregon. Had 3+1 quarter of really good times up there. Loved it, and I kept wakeboarding up there because there were some local kids who we met that had boats, and then I'd come home in the summer, work with my dad, and when I wasn't working, we'd go on the boat, and so kept my love for wakeboarding. But honestly, when I was at Oregon, I was studying sports marketing, and I think if at the time you asked me, oh, do you want to work for a wakeboard company, that would have been one of the options, but it truthfully wasn't like my, I wasn't so dedicated to wakeboarding that that's what I wanted to do. I honestly just wanted to be involved in sports. And,
Mhm.
um, I was leaning towards outdoor sports. So I thought it would have been rad to work at K2 skis. I thought it would have been rad to work for Vans. I thought, there were a lot
Yeah.
of things like that. And Patagonia, I loved getting the Patagonia catalog, which is funny. I don't even know if they print a catalog anymore, but as a kid. So there was that. So just, I guess, fast forward a little bit, my summer between my junior and senior year, I had just applied to a ton of different places to get internships. And, at the time, it wasn't there. There was email, but I didn't really have it. So I was just sending letters to people. And one of them was Michael Marks, who at the time, he's gone on to do a bunch of other things.
Mhm.
Now runs like a rad bike race and a bunch of events. But at the time, he was the marketing director for Surfing Magazine. And
Ah.
he was one of them I sent a letter to. And I had zero surf experience other than maybe flailing in the waves when we'd go visit my relatives. But he randomly was super into uh, like track and field and saw that I was going to Oregon, which has, historical track and field program
Oh
and
yeah.
Nike and all that stuff. And so I get this call. I'm assuming I got a call from him asking, my surf experience, and I was kind of lying a little bit and made it. Yeah, no, I surf a little bit, and it end up, getting in this internship with him, and so this summer I moved down. Just had a friend from college who lived in Southern California, like San Clemente area, and I moved and stayed with his family. And I was working 2 days a week for free at surfing, and it was just, you know, putting stickers in envelopes and sending it to subscribers and things like that. But then we would go to events, and one of them was the US Open of surfing in Huntington. And at a party, my job was to hang banners and do all that kind of stuff. And I'm hanging banners, and I just hear this like ridiculous laugh behind me.
I can already tell.
Yeah, you already know who it is. It was Tony Finn. And I knew Tony Finn, his voice and I just knew who he was because of, I think, High Wake Drifters, the wakeboard movie back then. And I remember being like, oh, no way, that dude's a legend. And, and here I'm surrounded by like Kelly Slater and Tom Carroll and all these like surf legends, but I was way more stoked because Tony Finn was there. And so I went in and introduced myself, and then, typical Tony, he was like, wait, you're doing this for free? Oh, sweet. We could use you. And so he didn't even know what an internship was, but he basically asked me how many days I could help him. And I said, well, I got a couple extra days each week. So yeah, that whole summer I worked at surfing 3 days a week and Liquid Force 2 days a week, and got to do some cool things when I was interning, met Sarah Klein and Drew McGuckin and some of those riders, and would go out on the boat with them and like just help. My job was to like wash the boat and do all these things. And so I'm like this total rookie, but I was stoked, first time on an inboard boat like ever. And I'm with some of these pros. And so I really had a good time. I had a great time interning at surfing, but I really had a better time at Liquid Force. I just felt like I connected more with the people. And so I go back to school, and then long story short, I'm almost done with school, and Tony calls me. We had kind of kept in touch, and calls me and said their team manager was quitting, and literally on the spot was like, do you want to be our team manager? And that's why I was talking about luck. Like I wasn't qualified to be a team manager. I mean, it's like, you're the perfect team manager, right? You've got all the experience as an athlete over the years, so you can relate. I just was this kid who liked it, but I didn't know. And so, so at the time I still had a little more time left in school, and I told Tony, like, dude, I don't even know what that job is, but I need a job, and that would be epic to work for you guys. And, some back and forth negotiation on like when I could start. Like he was like, you don't need a college degree, you can do it now. And I laughed. I'm like, well, my parents would be pretty pissed if I quit. So
like, I'm pretty invested into college at this point. So
yeah. And it wasn't like he was offering me some crazy salary. I could have made more money at McDonald's, but I was like, but I was fired up. So yeah, so that's kind of it. I mean, it literally was just, I met the right people in high school that kind of got me into the sport. I think about it all the time. I'm like, relationships come and go, but I'm like, man, that one girlfriend was pretty influential in my life. So that was cool. And I just got lucky and fortunate. And, I owe a lot to Michael Marks for putting me in the right position back then to be at this event. And, he got me my start in the industry, and, I kind of done the rest, but at least I was in the right spot because of him. And yeah, it's awesome.
Wow. I mean, I think it's a really great story because it's a success story, and I guess this is a great time for you to like formally introduce your role on here on the Drop Top podcast. But like, you literally started as an intern, then you're team manager, and here we are X amount of years later, and you've worked your way up, I guess you'd say, the corporate ladder, even though we're in a way a small business. So it's a rad success story though, sticking with something, grinding it out, just like everything, through thick and through thin, and putting in the work.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I don't get to talk about it that often, and I don't know. It's like, you feel the same way probably. It's like when you talk about your accomplishments, you kind of feel like you're bragging, but it's like, but at the same time, I mean, this February was 25 years at Liquid Force. And I mean, so that's like a
Wow.
considerable amount more than half my life. And it's crazy. And really, when I think back, I'm like, yeah, there's been a lot of luck, but it's also just, I always think like if you're in a situation that is a situation you're into, right? Like if it's something you like,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that's going to hold you back from improving is yourself.
Of course.
And, it's easy to lose. There's been a lot of times. So to answer your question, I'm the general manager now. So I basically, oversee the business for Liquid Force. And I mean, I'd be lying if I said I know how to do everything. There's so many times where I'm in a financial meeting or something with my bosses, and there's, things they're talking about, or some of the other general managers that because I'm on the board of directors with Arbor Snowboards and some of these other brands that
Wow.
our parent company owns. And I'll hear some of the other people talk. And I'm like, man, they sound so smart. Like I have no idea what they're talking about. And so I think the biggest thing, it's like nobody ever knows everything, and nobody ever really knows what you're doing. And you just got to keep working at getting
Right.
better and better and better. And I've, I've always really appreciated being around athletes, because I think it's the same thing with an athlete. There's always somebody better than you,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean you can't have an amazing career, and you can't, or even if it's not a career, like, like you can't just keep getting better at something and having more fun just because somebody's better. It's like, don't let that bum you out. Like just keep trying to work and hard and surround yourself with people that are better than you, because it helps in the long run. And
No,
that's what I
absolutely.
think has happened to me.
And I'm gonna go ahead and I wouldn't say quote is the right word because I'm not gonna get this exactly right, but we can reference. Here we go. We'll reference Steve Prefontaine, an Oregon grad right there.
Go free.
I watched.
Yes.
I'll never forget. Like I watched this documentary on him or whatever in high school, and this was like during off season in football class or whatever. And yeah, he was all about like how Steve wanted to be the best at everything, and it wasn't just track, but he would surround himself, and it came down to literally everything. Like somebody would do something better than him, and he would just have to strive nonstop till he was able to outdo him. I don't know if you've ever watched that. I'm sure you have, but yeah, I won't ever forget
Yeah, there's
that.
a couple. I don't know. I always forget the names of them, but there were like well, I don't even know if there was a documentary, and then there were two actual feature films that came out
It could have
about
been
his
one of
story.
those. I mean,
Yeah.
this was like an easy like almost 20 years ago now. But the only reason why I say that is I think like one of the opening scenes at it's hilarious because it's like Steve wants to be the best at everything, even if it meant drinking beer. He had to drink more beer than everybody else. And
Totally.
they were like showing clips, whether I can't remember it was actually him or whatever. I'm sure it wasn't, but it was like some reenactment. This guy passed out because he had to one up everybody, even to that
Yeah, I
extent.
mean,
So
I think I'm pretty good at drinking beer too, so maybe that's
well.
but it's funny though, there's a limit too, right? There's some
Mm-hmm.
people, you can obsess over things, and that's as I've gotten older and as I've done this job more, and I have been able to like manage people and mentor people. Like I also am like, there's a balance. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
can't, it's like, I mean, as a pro athlete, like you can't just wakeboard all the time. It's like, that's why listening to Gunther's podcast you did, and hearing, he has a blast going home and skiing and snowboarding and all the stuff he's doing with, the surf and foiling now. Cause I think there is a balance, and that keeps you like coming back wanting more,
Keep it fresh.
yeah. And it's like, I want to talk about working hard, but it's like, I also know I'm not the hardest worker compared to some people. I just have worked hard enough, and I keep pushing and trying to get better all the time. That's, I think, the goal. It's like, just don't be satisfied. Always try to get better and try to help people around you get better, because a lot of people have helped me get better. I think that's the key of my current position. I feel like there's a lot of days I don't even feel like I'm doing anything. I'm just helping people get better. So
Hey, you know what? That's a good feeling whenever you get home. But and speaking of your current position, I think it'd be great to kind of for everybody to hear this. But like I think when you hear that you're the general manager at Liquid Force, really that means more than just Liquid Force, right? I mean, obviously I work with you, so we are you actually you look over technically more than one brand, more than just Liquid Force. So I think this would be a good opportunity to share as far as like what else is a part of our family, essentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, our bigger family, there's a lot of brands involved.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like what my role is, yeah, definitely there's Liquid Force. So everything related to Liquid Force, wakeboard, surf, foil, life jackets, all that kind of stuff like that. That's my main deal. But yeah, within the last 2 years, we've brought Freedom Foil Boards brand into the mix, and it's a rad, real small niche brand, but it was started by a good friend to me, but also a lot of people that are part of Liquid Force. Chris Sayer, he actually,
Legend.
yeah, like when I first started working at Liquid Force, in '97, shortly after I started, I was fortunate to live on the Carlsbad Lagoon, which is kind of the mecca for wakeboarding down here, with Chris and then with Keith Kipp. And at the time, Keith was one of the main riders for Hyperlight, and Chris was one of our team riders for Liquid Force. And both just kind of killing it, and it was a really fun. I don't even think we lasted a year because I was out of town for work, and those guys had a party, and we ended up getting kicked out because of it. And
That sounds epic.
yeah, and I didn't blame. They were a lot younger than me, so what was I expecting? But yeah, so then Chris was in that for a while. He never was going to be you know he didn't have aspirations of being Watson or Parks or Sean Murray or something like that, but he was good, but he also knew he needed a career. And so he ended up becoming a firefighter and has had a, good career as a firefighter here in Encinitas, but somehow just stumbled upon, foil surfing and kind of quickly got hooked on it. And he had built up the brand Freedom Foil Boards just out of his garage, literally in San Clemente. And I'm going to be telling a horrible version of the story compared to what he could tell, but fast forward, he came to us. He had been asking Jimmy some advice on some foil designs and some board designs and things. We were helping him, and he was having trouble getting bigger. Like he didn't have enough personal financing to really take it to the next level and find a warehouse and all the things that
Yeah.
deal with when you're a small business. And we just said, well, shoot, we're looking to expand, and why not incorporate a brand like you where it's a good friend of ours and it's small and we can just build it together. So yeah, so we've been doing that. It's still really small, but we've built a pretty rad little team.
I would definitely say so. An epic team.
Yeah, and so I wasn't even meaning athletes. I mean, it's more just the people that are working for us, and designers and salespeople like Blaine, and then now we've got this kid Nathan over in the UK, but we have Jason Miller, Brian Finch helping us with the team and the marketing, and just a lot of good people. And but then athletes too. Yeah, I mean, some of these, Jason Miller and Brian Finch are some of our key riders, but then other younger like Brady Hurley, who his dad was part of the Hurley family.
Wow.
And which I guess is obvious, his last name's Hurley. But
That's pretty crazy.
Family.
I didn't know
it's
that.
cool. And then Tom Carroll, who it's funny because I met him when I worked at Surfing Magazine. He rides the boards over in Australia for Chris. So
Nice.
yeah, it's awesome. And now we're getting back into the wind sports side of things. We've got like Blaine and Pete are based up in Hood River, and that, winging is a big thing up there. So it's funny because even though I was never a pro wakeboarder, like I actually got to be a pretty decent wakeboarder, right? And I can ride at the cable park and I can wake surf, I can do all that stuff. Foiling is the one thing I don't really know how to do. And so now we have this whole brand that I'm managing, and it's like I feel like such a kook in some of these product meetings and things, but but it's cool because all the people that are working for us are so good at what they do, and they've been like super helpful to me to learn it. So
I'm pretty sure that they went through. I mean, hey, I went through the same learning curve myself. So, and now it's like my go-to behind the boat. So, all by all means, man, I understand where you're at, but it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, and not to mention too, half the reason I was wanting to ask you about that is one, like I'm a huge firm believer in Freedom Foil boards and everything that we make too. But I also like I'll never forget like right kind of shortly after we took them on, listening to Chris Sayer during one of our sales meetings, like lay it all out. And it was just the most like passionate discussion that he was laying out. Like you could just tell how much heart he had in it. And it was like, I always knew who Chris was as a writer, just because I was a fan when I was a grummy, but you know, hearing him discuss all this stuff, you know, in the foiling, it blew my mind, like how passionate and everything he was about it.
Well, it's funny. We call him Jimmy Jr. because he's literally Jimmy Redmond, but younger. You know? Like,
yep.
I mean, even to the point of like sometimes his like organizational skills and stuff. I'm like, dude, come on, we got to get this going. But
right.
But yeah, no, it's awesome because he's really passionate, and it makes it, you know, it makes it awesome because he's pushing us to get better, and we're pushing him to get better, and he's really assembled a great team, and he's just a good person too. And so Absolutely. Like a lot of the I mean, it's funny because like I'll see some kid on Instagram that looks really good. I'm like, dude, we got to sign this kid, and he'll be like, oh well, I've heard he's not, you know, whatever, there's some issue.
He already knows.
Yeah. And I'll be like, well, he's really good. And Chris is like, yeah, but he's not the type of person we want on the team. So it's like, that matters a lot to him too. Yeah. So I think it's cool. And it has always mattered to me when I was team manager for Liquid Force. And I know you as well. And, you know, Aaron, when he was doing it too, it's like, there were some people that we didn't sign that were really good, but they just didn't fit our vibe, and they didn't fit our ethics or whatever too. So
hey, I'm with you. I'm just so glad I fit on that vibe. it was the best. I always say all the time, it was the best career decision I ever made.
Oh dude, it was obviously great for us too.
But to keep things still in like the LF family, one story I really don't know the background story of this, and there's some even more that I want to go deeper into this, but I know that your wife Susan, she used to work for us at Liquid Force, but I never found out how you guys met. And you know, again, I mean, you know, when I initially think of when I first started riding you guys, she was actually on board. So, you know, in my mind, I'm like, oh, they probably met at work. But I imagine
we did.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was thinking that probably wasn't.
No, yeah, we did. So she had started working back then. We were owned actually by a different parent company. Then we weren't part of Kent. We were a different parent company, this Earth and Ocean Sports, and they actually owned BZ Bodyboards, and they owned Track Top, which made like surf traction. And you know, bodyboarding is kind of whatever, but at the time BZ was a rad brand for bodyboarding. And Susan had moved from Kansas City, was living in San Diego, and just had some friends that, you know, she had a friend that was connected and that was actually working for BZ in the purchasing department. And Susan had been looking to do something different than what she was doing. And so she got hired to be purchasing, and not necessarily for Liquid Force. This was for BZ at the time. And I might be wrong. She might have been doing a little Liquid Force at the time. I don't remember. But the funny story is I remember the day she was getting interviewed, and I walked out like in our warehouse, and I see her, and like, I'm like, whoa, who's this? You know?
Yep.
And I probably was like so annoying to the girl Helen that was interviewing Susan, because I was butting in and for no reason. But anyway, so I meet Susan, and I'm like, oh, she seems cool. I leave for 2 or 3 months on the trip across America, and, you know, had forgotten about it. And I hope this is the right story, because this is the way I have it in my mind. Susan might laugh and be like, that's not how it was. But I came back from this trip after being gone for 2 months, and she's sitting at my desk. And
Oh.
because I guess we didn't have a desk for her or something. And so I was like, oh, rad, that cute chick got hired. So,
Yeah, I just got my in.
yeah, yeah. So like, it was one of those things, like, it wasn't like instantly we started hanging out and dating, but like after a while, we were part of the lunch group going to get lunch and stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, and just kind of one thing led to another. And we ended up, the first time we actually like hung out and like, we're like, all right, this actually could be something, was at Boardstock in Stockton at a
Yeah.
houseboat.
that
So
was
yeah, so
those
that
were pretty
was,
wild ones back then. I never went to one,
yeah,
but I always remember seeing photos in Wakeboarding magazine and I think Launch Wakeboarding magazine, and they looked like it was like bro stock before bro stock.
yeah. And it wasn't as good as the Shasta. The Shasta ones were the
I
best,
think that's where I
but
where I remember seeing a lot of photos from.
yeah, like basically, I wasn't running the event or anything, so I don't know, but we got banned from Lake Shasta because it was too good. But yeah, so this was Stockton. So yes, we started hanging out then, and then kind of, yeah, the rest is history. There was like a couple months where we were dating and we weren't really telling anybody at work because we were like,
You
is
want
this
to
taboo or is this weird? And then our Christmas party, it was like, okay,
make it official?
yeah, yeah. So no, so it was awesome. So then, yeah, she worked for us for a long time, but she left. I'm so bad with dates, but she left between 5 to 10 years ago. She left to just pursue. She's a Muay Thai kickboxer, so she wanted to pursue that full time, and then yeah. So then we've got John and Curtis doing purchasing, which I always laugh. It took one woman to do the job of two men back then. So
Oh man, I mean hey, I get that. That's the truth these days, right? No, but I that's perfect that you said because that's exactly like I've wanted to know because I mean I think it's pretty obvious. I think everybody in the world would agree with me, but Susan is a badass. I've been following like her path, I guess, really since Instagram has taken off more so through Muay Thai and all that. But like, I mean, I guess she kind of said, she decided she wanted to leave and do that. But like, man, I'm just curious what drew her into that, and I mean, it's another. She's definitely a Wallace because she's got that grind it out, work hard like mentality. Because look where she's at now. It's insane.
yeah, it's cool. I mean, and she could. I don't know if the audience would want to listen to the whole, if the Wake audience would want, but her story is really awesome. And yeah, I mean, she just, she was into dance all growing up, and then next door to her dance studio was a boxing studio, and she thought that looked cool, so she got into boxing. And then boxing's lame, and they say you're too old at a certain age to really fight, and so she got out of that and got into Muay Thai, and has just taken off. I mean, it's crazy. Like, her gym in San Diego, Steel MMA, is, Dominic Cruz, who announces and fights in UFC, is one of the guys that trains there. This girl, Angela Hill, UFC star, trains there. So Susan spars with her all the time. And then in Muay Thai, Tiffany Van Soest, who is like a world champion, trained there for a while and is like part of the crew. So yeah, I mean, it's like Susan's really, really good. It's awesome, and just keeps getting better. And now she's helping a lot of girls and coaching. Yeah,
That's
it's
rad.
it's it's fun. I mean, I know everything about baseball and football and basketball and all these sports. I didn't know crap about Muay Thai or any of that stuff, but I've learned a lot, and it's just a really cool sport. And I think there's actually a lot of wakeboarders I know that at least do jujitsu and that
Yeah.
part of the sport, and Muay Thai goes right along with that. So it's cool. It's really cool to learn a lot about it.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that's I would say across the two Wallaces, I think you guys probably have a pretty vast amount of knowledge across all sports. Action sports, team sports. I mean, all of it. So that's pretty impressive. But I mean, I've always just kind of wanted to know because again, I follow her journey and it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah. It's
unreal. So
I'll
respect.
do a shameless plug for her, but her Instagram is at Big Guns. So if
It's worth it,
anybody wants to
guys.
follow it,
It's
yeah.
worth it. But
If
I
you
want
want
to.
to, if you want to see stuff about cats and Muay Thai. She's a good follow.
Nice. Yeah. Well, like I said, a total badass, so it's worth it on there. But I want to take a little bit of a break real quick and run through some trivia with you. Now, I will say,
Ugh.
Don, you probably more than anybody, I have struggled. Like I'm finding, trying to do stuff, come up with questions. So I'll say this: like I've got some questions on there that I'm kind of like I know, but I'm also kind of looking for your official like justification. Like put me in place if I'm wrong. Because I know when we discussed this on some email chains with trivia, you definitely put us in check because you know.
Well, it's funny. I like the thing because I've obviously listened to. I don't think I've listened to every podcast. There's a couple I've missed. I need to listen to, but I've listened to most of them, and yeah. So it's like I hear the trivia and I usually know the answers, and sometimes I'm like, no, that answer's not right. But then last night I was stressing. I'm like, oh, this is the part where I'm like. Always like I know everything, and then I'm probably going to strike out on mine. So
No. Like I said, I've got a couple on there. I'll just give you a heads up. A couple of them
the
on
way
there.
you could get me is if you could ask questions about dates, because I never know. The only thing I know is I started at Liquid Force in '97. Like that's the date I know.
Okay. Well, I will say I definitely have I definitely have one for sure on there that I'm gonna get you on. Nobody
Okay.
nobody in their right state of mind would get this, but it's just so I have one that I'm like, I got you.
Well, you said that to Gunther, and he got the one that you said was going to be
Oh,
impossible.
you'll laugh at this one, but and same thing as I go through with everyone. I got some questions that are kind of structured around you. So we'll
Okay.
start with what I feel are some of these ones. All right,
Okay.
who were the first LF riders? Team athletes,
Um,
excuse me.
yeah, I mean, I probably won't get all of them, but I'll just say the team riders when I started at
There we
Liquid
go.
Force
Yeah.
were, yeah, so Sarah Klein, Drew McGuckin, Greg McCrassen, Ryan Sebring, Johnny King, uh, I guess Shane and Philip Sobin, and I think Bob was even signed at that point
Wow.
already too. Um, and then there were a couple that I can't remember if they were part of like Chad Marin and Scott Zanoni. I don't remember if they were ever Liquid Force riders or if they just started on Free Motion, but
I know there's one that you've already mentioned so far in this podcast, unrelated, that you have not said.
oh, oh, Gator.
No, not Gator. No, it was one you've already actually already dropped his name. Was when you said you were washing boats. But if I can go ahead and give it to you if you want.
No, give me a second. I think it's
I,
probably an obvious
it
one,
was
but
funny because
I can't think.
you've actually, as
Oh,
we were sitting there chatting.
hey, imagine that. Imagine that. Jimmy Redmond is interrupting me in the middle of my podcast. He's the king of shoulder hopping.
Oh, this is great. Actually, hey, since you got Jimmy, you might as well ask him who were the first LF team athletes.
Well, I just said Gator, and then he just said Ricky G, but Ricky G wasn't on the team at that point. And Chris Sayer wasn't on the team at
Yeah.
that point either. I don't know who's the one I'm forgetting.
Drew McGuckin.
Oh, I thought I said that.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe I spaced on that one. Then the other
I
ones.
think you need to play that back. I think I said Drew at the
You're
beginning.
probably right. I'm staring at this list of names in front of me, and it's either that. The other one that I have was Anthony Monaco.
Oh yes, dang it! How did I forget Anthony? Yep, he
And-
was on the team for
And then
sure.
there's
He was
one
awesome.
more that shares a similar, I guess, a similar story with you and I would be Rich Goforth, a team manager.
Yep. Yeah. I guess would he have been called a? I guess I don't think. No, he wasn't on the team when
He
I
was a
started.
team.
But yeah,
Okay,
but he was before. Yeah, you're right. Like he
gotcha.
was the original because
Yeah,
he was the original team
I
manager basically.
I had to pull some of this stuff because obviously, again, I had to put in my check, check myself on this. But I got a couple of other quick
Oh, and
little.
Buster. I think Buster Lutker and Tina Bessinger too.
Really,
I don't know.
man. That's
I don't know if they
big.
were original, but I feel like I didn't sign them, so they might have been on the team
I
before.
just-
Yeah, there were a lot. I mean, I don't think hardly any of them were getting paid anything, but there were a lot of team riders. Yeah, a lot of people that left Wake Tech or left some other brands to come
Right.
ride with Jimmy and Tony.
That's awesome. Well, I got a few other quick ones, like quick, easier ones, not ones that don't require a bunch of different names. But can you name the first women's specific wakeboard boot?
Wakeboard boot?
Yeah. International Women's Day was just a couple days ago. So, I thought about like, this is
Because like,
one.
was Melissa's boot our first? It wasn't the first women's boot, was it?
No, this is just women's. I think this actually might have turned into Melissa's signature binding, but wasn't when it came out.
Well, Shane's turned into, or no, Melissa's turned into Shane's.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know.
I actually, hey, I'll go ahead and tell you, it was the Minx, and I pulled it from.
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually
That
pulled
was
this one from
Melissa's
our
boot.
website. That's what I thought. I was like,
Yeah, it's the
okay.
blue and gray one.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
I got that one. Let
Okay.
the record state I got that one correct.
Oh, easy. Okay. Ooh, this one. I kind of like throwing this one out. The first closed toe binding.
Well, the first one we did was Shane's.
Yeah. I think you smell what I'm stepping in right now.
Yeah, I mean, Hyperlight had one, right? But it was not, it just was like a piece of rubber that went over the front. It really wasn't, it didn't accomplish what Shane's did.
Well, no, yes, absolutely. So I same thing. I always kind of credit because actually the year
Sphinx.
that Shane that Shane came out with that was the year that I started riding for us. But I remember this binding called the Subrosa because I remember flipping through Overtons way back in the day, and it was like this weird like hard shell looking thing that like folded out from the front. So I always like to kind of throw that one in there. As that was like a trick question.
Yeah, that was like with Weddington and Thomas and all those guys were riding. Yeah, that was. I mean, it was a Franken boot back then, but credits due. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I was just trying to trick you because I knew the Shane thing, but I knew at the same time you probably knew. But all right, I'm gonna get a little bit tougher on. Let's turn it up a bit. The first Liquid Force Park Pro Model board. Can you tell me whose it was or what the board was?
Well, I think there. I mean, it wasn't a flex board.
No, you're right.
It was Kyle Schmidt's board.
Well, there was that, but this was like, I guess you'd say a park. When I say park, like a park athlete, I guess it would be the right word. The first pro model park LF athlete board, because that's an extensive.
Dude, I don't know.
This is a little tricky. This is a little tricky too.
I mean, the first flex board was Mike Ennens. But then yours, I don't know.
I think so. To go specific, I mean, this is what I have. I have this guy. He's German. His name was P2. We did a limited run trip over in Germany. This was like before I got a signature board with us. I think this was like 2 years before. And I don't know. To at least my knowledge, this was like the first ever like parks. This guy rode park and park only, and he got the first ever. LF
I remember. I remember that. I actually can picture that graphic too.
Yeah, I do too. It had like a little king's crown on it or whatever. But I just always remember seeing that, like at least myself being like, "Wow, like this is." I just remember that being pretty big. So
it's so funny. It's so funny the difference back then. It was like a regular board, and we just put grind base on it. And that was a park board. And now to think of what you guys are riding in the park, it's so crazy.
But hey,
how much better the stuff is.
I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say pun intended on this, but I still have a hard time wrapping my mind around how we ever wrapped our grind base around molded in fins, which that board had that. So it was pretty mind blowing. But we'll keep on with that. Do you remember what? And the next one is, what was our first LF wood core boards called? They were super lightweight.
Yeah, we had the balsa.
Yeah, you got it. They were the balsa boards.
They were the trips.
Yeah, they were ultra core, right? Wasn't that what we called them?
Yeah, and I think like 50% of them broke.
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember that. Hey, we that's how you got trial and error.
Those things were badass though. They were so light. I mean, they're probably the lightest boards we ever made, but that's why they broke.
Yeah, they were lively too. So I'll put it this next one is very unofficial on my means, so I'm kind of asking you to correct me maybe on this. But who was the first Liquid Force Pro World Champion?
Oh, you might get me on this one.
I don't know. I have my thoughts and guesses. So
oh man.
I got Phil. I'll just come right out with it. I got Phil.
It probably was him. I'm trying to think because I guess he would have won before Harley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think if maybe somebody I'm not thinking of. Like if Ryan Sebring
Yeah.
ever won Worlds, but I think he just won Nationals. Just
Yeah.
that was awesome too. But yeah, you're probably right. It probably was Froggy.
Yeah, that was at least my guess. So, all right, we're gonna shift it up even a little bit more. And this was one I could not like. I'm already priority giving this away, but where is the number one sports marketing university program in the country?
Oh, go Ducks!
I know.
Obviously.
That's what when as soon as you said you went to school for sports marketing, I'm like I was like, oh, a trivia question is immediately
I
going to be
mean,
thrown out, but that blew my mind. I'm like even more impressed. I'm like right on, Don.
yeah. I mean, honestly, it was. I want to say when I was there, it was when the program started too. Like it wasn't. I mean, they had a great marketing program, but the actual Warsaw sports marketing department started, I think, in '95 or something. So when I was there. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I don't know today if it ranks number
It
one. I
still
mean, I
is.
think it does.
According
Yeah,
to
yeah,
according to the first thing that came up on Google, yes. So
yeah. I mean,
everything on
just
the
the
internet's correct. So
yeah, totally. Just the proximity to so many. I mean, there's just so many good businesses, including
Mhm.
Nike up in Portland and that area. So yeah,
For sure.
we were fortunate. But
No,
yeah, no, go Ducks, of
I
course.
that was something I learned as a part of this, and even more impressed. So obviously, not only as my impression of you already big enough as is, but man, more respect to you even more. Grinding it out at the number one sports marketing program in the country. So props. All right, this is the one I'm going to get you on, Don, and I wouldn't expect anybody to get this. How many Oregon football uniform combos have there been?
Oh, millions.
I mean,
Not enough. Not enough.
9,984 is what I got as of 2020.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
What my favorite thing about being an Oregon Duck fan is the crap we get from people that go to Ohio State or Penn State or all those schools that never change anything.
oh
And then when
yeah.
they do, they come out with some lame uniform combo and they make fun of us. And I'm like, well, it's cool. Like there's a reason that we're as popular as we are without really having the level of success some of these bigger programs have had, and it's because of marketing,
No, are you kidding me? Have you
which is
seen
awesome.
I would say like 2/3 of FBS football now is on this like, hey, we're gonna change up different helmets, different uniforms for every game, and guess who they got that from? They totally are
Yeah.
ripping off Oregon. And even some teams, not my I mean, hey, unfortunately I fall in that same my team falls in that same category if we wear the same thing. We're classic, we're timeless, we don't change it. But, we're not trying to rip off anybody. But teams that we play in my conference and they're, like TCU, they're all about like, hey, they've done a really good job with they have some of the best looking uniforms, but nah, you can't touch the O.
Well, it's fun. I mean, I don't know. It's fun. It's like, why do we change graphics on boards every
Yeah,
year? I mean,
right.
sometimes the boards don't change, but it's fun to have a different graphic. And that's, I think, same thing. It's fun to have a different
Just say it,
color
be like
sweatshirt or something.
our general manager graduated from the University of Oregon. That's why.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna go ahead and apologize for this next one, but how many football natties does Oregon have?
Oh my God, this is gonna have to be deleted from the interview.
I'm sorry,
Well,
man.
we definitely have zero, but we've been close and they've been fun.
Hey, I agree. I remember watching you guys play Auburn within the last 15 years and won, and it was an epic game.
Yep, it was. I was at that game. It was great. No, we lost.
All right, my apologies. I had to do a little trash talking. I mean, it's not. There's easily a lot of trash you could lay out about my team, but let's go ahead and stop that right there and let's move on.
It's all right. That's what I love about sports, though. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this care less about football or any of these sports, but they're fun. They're just good. It's good opportunity to talk crap to your friends, which is good.
Yeah, and speaking of fun, we're gonna do another March Madness, inter office March Madness challenge.
Oh yeah, and I might actually win because the Ducks aren't gonna make it this year, so I won't pick them to win. So I'll actually be smart in my picks. So yeah, we'll set it up.
Hey, just know Big 12's gonna win, man. Big 12, not my team, but Big 12. Anyhow,
we'll see.
All right, Don. I wanted, one thing I never knew about you till kind of recently, but like. I kind of am a big fan too. Hot rods and classic trucks, man. Where did that start? How did you get into that? I mean, again, it looks like you've been putting in some work on your Coyote F100.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, my dad and I just finished. I mean, I say just now; it's been close to a year, but a 1966 F100, full rebuild. Basically, from the outside, it looks like an old truck, but we've got modern motor and transmission and chassis and suspension and all that. And yeah, it started because that's what my dad does for a living, and
No way.
he's always since he was, I think the first car he rebuilt was a Model A Roadster when he was 15 before he even could drive. And
Wow.
he's just, that's what he does. He's always built, like early model Fords, so 1932 Fords and Model A's and things like that. His specialty is paint and body, and he just does it at home. Just he's got a shop, garage shop, and he just does one-off jobs for people, and
Man.
always has. So as growing up, I was always super stoked on what my dad would do, but
Mm-hmm.
I had no interest in like pursuing that as because it's hard work.
Oh my
And
gosh. I've never been more frustrated in my life than working on any of my vehicles. So I hear
oh
you.
yeah, yeah, and just especially I don't know if anybody watches any of the bitch and rides or some of those shows on TV, and like you watch the paint body and it's just monotonous and it's hard. And so I but I always loved it. We'd go to car shows and I thought the cars were cool and it was fun to drive them and ride around. And then as I got older, I started having more interest in not doing it necessarily, but having a car. And so my dad had a 34 Ford little hot rod truck that I loved. And I just told him one time, I was like, I don't care what you give me in the will, but I want that thing. Don't ever sell it. And he was like, well, that's stupid. Why are we going to wait till I die? Like, let's figure something out now.
Yeah.
So I got that a few years ago from him, and I've done a bunch of shows with him and stuff. And then during, like, right before COVID started, which I was hoping to not say that word during this, but I did. But right before that happened, I just had this thought and this idea of building something with my dad, and I knew he was kind of slowing down on his builds with customers, and I just said, hey, I got this idea, would you be interested? And I think he thought I didn't realize how much work it was going to be and how expensive it was going to be and all that, but I just said I was committed, and because I just wanted, I hope he lives another 25 years, but like I just wanted to
Yeah. Connect back with
understand
them.
and understand what he does from a like actual level of like me working on it with him. And so it was awesome. Like, so we spent just under 2 years building the thing. And I say he did 80% of the work, and I would just come up there for weekends, every once in a while and work with him on it. And yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome experience and super fun. And my brother is really into the cars too. And he actually built one with my dad when my brother was in high school. So he had that experience a lot younger, and yeah, I got to do it, and it's been fun. I mean, I don't love standing at car shows as much as the older guys do. I'd rather just drive them, but it's also been just an awesome opportunity to go and like hang out and just learn a skill. Like it's something,
Yes.
another skill I have. I sit at a desk most days where I'm at a lake doing demos or something, but that was really rad to like get involved with it with him, and it's been fun. So it's cool.
Well, hey, that way too, in case you're out on the lake someday and the boat breaks down, crack open the hatch, you know what you're doing.
I mean, yeah, yes and no. I know more than I used to know,
There
but
you
yeah,
go.
I definitely.
Everybody's gonna turn to you if that happens, now. Like, hey Don, we need you to come back here and
Totally.
I don't know what you need to do, but we need you to do something.
Yeah. But
So
yeah, it's been fun. It's a cool hobby, and yeah, I think sports is still my passion, but that's been fun too.
I'm with you. Well, I know, but you got a lot of hobbies, and I know we touched on one of them earlier, like snow skiing. I've seen a couple of videos here and there. I saw Tommy Shashin's, like, obviously before he ruptured his Achilles tendon, but I saw also, following his story, I saw a couple little clips of you ripping downhill. So I know that's a big, like, a long time one there for you too. So I'm curious
Yeah.
to hear. I mean, you got all sorts of action sports, team sports. snow skiing, cars. I mean, is there a hobby? You kind of cover everything. Obviously, Muay Thai now too. I mean, is there
Well,
a hobby
let's
you
not
don't
say
have?
it. I'm not very good at, I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of things I'm not good at, but yeah, I mean, skiing is kind of my favorite
Hmm.
thing to do as an activity, and it's just fun. Yeah, I mean, going up there with Tommy. I had a day last spring up in Mammoth where he snowboarded and I skied in the morning, and then I met him and his son Owen and went out on the boat at Crowley wake surfing that
Wow.
afternoon. So it was a
Oh my
pretty
gosh, that's the California dream right there.
totally. It was pretty epic, and it's been cool. I mean, Tommy he's an incredible snowboarder, obviously,
Oh,
but
he's a
also
tremendous.
just fun to ride with. So
Yeah.
it's been really cool spending a ton of time up there with him too. And yeah, unfortunately, I was there the day that he tore his Achilles. Like we were ripping around the mountain and having a blast, and then he did that. But sounds like his recovery's going good, and he's hoping to be back on the water this summer, which would be killer.
I
So
know. I was pretty impressed. Like whenever he kind of at least broke the news to me about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've already had surgery. Here we go. Back. I'll be ready in time for the shoot." So it's
yeah,
like I'm like,
yeah,
man, that's you bounce back, buddy. I'm impressed.
totally. And hopefully, I mean, I just hope because it's like he's, it's like our sport is really fun, and what makes it fun is the people that you go with, and
For
like,
sure.
I mean, Tommy is. He's not going to go out and beat some of the guys in contests because he doesn't do a lot of those tricks. But hands down, I think he's my favorite wake surfer to watch because he just has such rad style. But then he's just fun too. He's just
Yeah.
like as stoked when I'm out there doing my stupid little carves on his primo. So hopefully, yeah, I hope he's back this summer because I want to spend some time with him up there for sure.
For sure. Yeah, yeah, and I know for a fact too. If you live anywhere up in Michigan and those areas, you got to catch the TNT tour, the Tommy
Yeah,
and Tyler tour. I did a little knockoff version of that myself, just because my name's Tom too, and I did like 4 or 5 years in a row. I go up there with Tyler and do the whole tour. So we were TNT tour 2.0.
yeah.
That might be a tongue
Well,
twister, but
it sounds like this year that's going to have to take a break between Tommy's Achilles and Tyler's
oh man,
newborn. So
yeah,
yeah, the TNT might have to come back stronger than ever next
they
year. Maybe
will.
maybe that's the deal. It's you and Tommy.
Hey, Tyler will be all good, man. All those years that we all always talked about how, like, you stayed up late in college and you got up the next day and you went to school and did all this running on no sleep, possibly hungover. It's like that now that he's got a kid, but just without the hangover. So he's
Yeah,
already been practicing. I got complete confidence that he's gonna kill it. Right back there with
exactly,
Tommy. So
exactly.
all right, Don. I got some quick questions. What I call them. I'm gonna fire them off to you. You don't think about it. You just give me the answer right off the top of your head. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
perfect.
Top three park riders.
Top three park riders today or
Hey,
ever?
you take that any way you want.
Well, I'm gonna take it ever. I think my favorite ever. Well, my favorite rider probably ever is Raph, and I for a lot of things, but I
Mm-hmm.
love the way he rides park. I used to always love watching Shane ride park,
Yes.
and I mean, obviously you and Henshaw and some others that rode for us. So I think I think if I had to just pick my all time, I think it's Raph, Shane, Henshaw, and
Yes.
then but then I mean, dude, all the kids that are ripping. I mean, some of the women that ride for us too,
Oh,
right? Like,
Claudia right now is on a whole nother
yeah,
level, but
Claudia. But then, I mean, I think Daniel obviously too. I mean,
yeah,
there's too many, so that's a hard
for
question to answer.
sure.
But
I know, and I'm gonna stick with the same. We'll just go ever. Top three wake riders. So boat.
my favorite ever is Greg McCrassen for
Yeah.
a lot of reasons. One being when I was team manager, he was the only one that didn't pick on me too hard at the beginning when I was trying to be a boss to all these kids.
Oh, I need to reach out to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think him. I mean, I'm just gonna stick to liquid force
Yeah,
riders
of
because
course,
there's
dude, for sure.
obviously there's so many badass riders for all the other teams too. But I think my favorite top three liquid force are Greg. I think Raph is there again at number two, And then, I mean, shoot, probably Watson.
There you go. I
Yeah,
would, I was like, man, Watson's got to make the list for sure.
yeah, yeah. Just the style. I mean, you know, and
For sure.
now it's like what Luca's doing and what Sam's doing and what
Hmm.
Harley has done over the. I mean, it's insane what Megan does, right? Like we just
Yeah.
have so many rippers, but yeah, I think that's my top three.
Solid list. Okay. Best sports collectible slash memorabilia you own.
Oh man, I'm looking at them. I've got some stuff in my office.
I
I
imagine
think,
so.
yeah, I mean, I think the funniest is Susan got me that she made a custom Don Wallace Dodger bobblehead,
Ah.
and it actually looks like me, which is funny, but that's probably the funniest. But I think my most prized is I've got a Vin Scully autographed ball, which
Oh.
that who cares how much it's even worth? It's just
Yeah.
epic. He's Vince. I could listen to Vin Scully talk about baseball forever.
That's all time, man. I was actually, I was thinking what my made that list was the Dodgers stadium chairs.
Oh yeah, they're right here too.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's you go into Don's office. You got to sit down in the Dodger chairs.
yeah, and I have a Joey Harrington signed uh, Ducks helmet too.
What?
Yeah, my brother got me that for Christmas.
Oh man, he was a great
That's pretty
commentator
epic.
too.
Yeah, that's pretty epic too.
Yeah. Okay, water or snow?
Um, Snow, which is weird to say because I
All
run a
good.
wakeboard
All
company.
good. Mountains or beach?
Mountains for sure.
Yeah. Trip across America or bro stock?
Uh, uh trip across America because like bro stock is so epic and so fun. But trip across America was rad because I that's how I got to see this whole country. I mean,
Yep.
I've been to every state in this country other than Alaska, and it's 80% of that is because of driving our RV back in the day with athletes to go do demos. And that was trip across America was just cool. It was like we got so many new people into the sport and
Mm-hmm.
you know, me not being a pro, but still being able to influence all these people and you know, customers that I see later, years later at sales that are like, oh, you were the first one that took me wakeboarding. Like
That's awesome.
I always thought Trip Across America was rad.
I saw that bus, I think a year and a half ago, 2 years ago in Houston. It still
Oh my
exists.
God.
It still
Oh my
exists.
God. Oh,
If the
that thing could
walls
tell
could
some
talk, but
stories.
we'll end that.
Exactly.
Favorite beverage, Don?
Favorite beverage. Beer.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and if you want to get specific, you could say Alamont, Trippin,
Yeah, true. Altamont.
Altamont. Excuse
I've
me.
got so in beer it's Altamont, and then we have friends that are part of Villager Spirits down here. It's like a canned cocktail that's pretty awesome. But yeah, Altamont, obviously Steve and those guys have been so killer and such good friends.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I think Sierra Nevada is my favorite because it's like the first craft beer I ever had. But yeah,
yeah. They were
Altamont's
they
right
were
out there these days.
they were craft before craft for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, over their entire career, college and pro, Justin Herbert, Marcus Mariota.
Oh, dude, I love Herbert, but Mariota's the man.
For
He
sure.
was he just what
He's
he
a Heisman
meant.
winner.
Yeah, and what he meant to the school and what he's doing now with all his foundations and stuff. Like, yeah, even if you're not a sports fan, you should be a fan of Marcus Mariota because he's just such a great dude. So yeah,
Yeah.
Mariota for sure.
Hey, I'm gonna check in with you on this on like 5, 7 years because you may be saying Herbert by then. But
Well, I think
whatever.
Herbert's going to be the best in the NFL, but as far as a duck,
Yeah,
Mariota for sure.
I gotcha. Okay, best place you've ever traveled.
Um, I mean, I would say from a personal standpoint, going skiing in Japan with my brother and my wife, you know, Susan, and then friends from Evo.
Yeah.
That was epic. And then work wise, I mean, there's so many. Obviously, everybody talks about Lake Powell and you know some of these rad places we've gone, but
Mm-hmm.
I think like going. I mean, and others have said this too. Going to Germany and going to the Langenfeld, you know, going and hanging out with Karsten and Benny and everybody over at
Yes.
Langenfeld, like that for me was just such an eye-opening experience, and just I don't know, just pretty rad to say I got to go to Germany and ride cable and
Yeah. I
and
mean,
cruise because of work.
their place is like insane. It's unreal. I will never forget my first ever trip there being like so blown away. But I think also part of that too is just like the hospitality and the friendliness of those guys is all time.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't beat
yeah.
that crew.
Well, and it's not just, I mean, obviously they're going to be like that with me or with you because we work with them, but also just, I mean, if somebody listening to this is just a, wakeboarder and a fan of the sport and they want to travel over there from the US or from wherever, I guarantee they're going to get great hospitality
Oh
too. I mean, that's
yes.
the cool thing. It's like they don't, I don't know, some of the original parks here in the US I used to feel like were pretty intimidating if you didn't really know how to ride cable. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
when I was in Germany, it was like, I mean, there's kids going off on like double skis and like,
Yep.
I mean, it's just like it's whatever works
Yeah.
there. And so
Yeah.
people wearing speedos and like people wearing weird outfits, but it was like everything worked, and I just really like it. I mean, I think Japan for sure for like a personal trip, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I got to go to Brazil at the beginning when I worked at Liquid Force too
Whoa.
with Nic- with Necrasen and with Watson and with Chad Marin and a couple others. And that was pretty epic too. That was when we were filming, I think, Wide Awake. Um, that was and Pete Santa Maria Rook went
Yeah.
with us.
I might
That
have
was
to
awesome.
bust out the VHS player and double check on that.
Yeah, I think
I
I
got
even have
that
a
video.
cameo. I've got a cameo crashing on a wake skate. I'm sure that
Oh,
was like
now I'm
my
gonna have
go-to.
to. Oh man, I'm gonna have to. Okay, last one of those worst, or no, second last. I got a surprise one, but worst place you've ever traveled. Sorry, I gotta ask it.
Um, worst place I've ever traveled. Jeez, I don't know. There's a lot of not that awesome places, but I feel like everybody keeps calling me during this. Most places I've gone to, it's like you can still have fun. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
like I don't like the joke is always Florida because it's so hot and sweaty. But I
yep.
actually like Florida. Like when we used to go hang out in Claremont, I liked it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and like we have so many friends that are there. Like when we go there and can hang out at Gunther and Megan's. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, you're all good. All good. All right, and the last one, I gotta end this almost the same way that I did with the trivia. Oregon State Beavers or the New York Yankees.
Oh, that's easy. That, that's gonna. It's probably not the answer you're expecting, but Oregon State Beavers 100% because my friend Sean Canfield played quarterback for them,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
so I've learned to like the Beavers a lot
Okay, I
more
was just
than
going for the, those are both your two big
yeah,
rivals, like for the Dodgers
yeah,
and for Oregon. So okay, I'm
yeah.
glad
The
to hear
Yankees.
you're
Well, and Oregon State's not really competition with us, so
true.
that's one thing.
Hey,
And the
there was a
Yankees.
time when the Civil War was pretty intense, man. There was a couple of twin brothers from Texas as the Rogers brothers that were
True, and
like,
Sean was their quarterback.
no way, that was there in
Yeah,
that
he played
time.
with Jaquiz and whatever the other one was. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, wow, I did not know that, but I
yeah,
just remember those two brothers were like the biggest badasses that ever played at
yeah,
Oregon State, at least during my generation. So, and they were like both like real undersized, they were both like 5'5" or something, and just
yeah.
crushing
That's
it.
why you would like him.
Of
Me too.
course. Yeah, right. Short guys from Texas. Yeah, well, I gotta fit the persona. Okay, Don, we're gonna wrap up this whole thing, and as I kind of do with everybody, I just like to have you get a chance to give some shout outs, man. Like lay it all out.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave some of them earlier, right? Like Michael Marks
Oh yeah.
was a big influence, in my life back at the start. Um, my girlfriend from high school, which is hilarious to say.
Shout out.
Yeah, but my parents for getting us into the sport, for getting that C swirl back then. And then obviously Susan just for
hmm
everything in life. But then, work wise, I owe a ton to Tony and to Jimmy, Jimmy, because he's still with us and doing a ton of, he's kept keeping the brand moving forward along with me. And Tony just, you know, my personality is way different than Tony's, but we really worked well together. And he taught me a lot and helped me big time. So
Wow.
And so I think Tony, and then, you know, John Archer and Bob Archer and, you know, the crew at Kent that have really helped. Um, but really, I mean, I don't know. There's so many, but it's like all the athletes and all the people that work for us right now and have worked for us in the past and you know, our friends at Alliance and, you know, back in the day, Wakeboarding Magazine. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of good people in this sport. And, you know, seriously, it's like the athletes get a lot of fame and whatever, but I also don't think the athletes get as much credit as they deserve too for what they do and you know how they've helped grow the sport and same thing with the dealers, right? Like there's so many
Yes.
amazing dealers that, you know, I can't shout them all out, but you know, people that put on rad events and whether it's Actives Evening with the Stars or, you know, just things like that people do throughout the year to promote the sport and help make our, you know, protect and go to all the city meetings when there's protecting waterways and that kind of
Yep.
stuff. So
Yeah, all the
yeah.
behind the scenes stuff. I think you couldn't have said it any better. And you know, with anything, it's like, hey, I gotta plug all these brands and these companies that have employed just wonderful people that have been a part of making this entire sport. And the dream that we all live in, as magical as it is.
Yeah, I mean, and dude, think about, I don't know, I think it's really cool that there's a lot of people that work here and now some of them include you, right? And Shane and people that, you know, have and Chris Sayer and you know, they
Yeah,
were athletes of ours that, I mean, shoot, even Aaron, you know, he was an athlete of ours
yeah,
before he worked for us. So I think it's cool that it's just the sport is continues to grow and thrive enough that it allows opportunity for people, you know, to keep growing and doing more, you know, with doing more with sports that they're passionate about, you know, and that's what I love. And like, you know, you asked the question, do I like water or snow better? I like activities they do on snow
there we
better,
go.
but I love the water side of it, and I love the passion that these people have and continue to. You know, it's cool.
For sure, man. I think you definitely stole some of my wanted words to say if I were to have a shout out with what you just said. So that's awesome, man. And yeah, I can't thank you enough though, Don, for letting me have some of your time and you know sharing with everybody the story of the grinding hard work ethic of Don Wallace.
Hey, thanks, man. It's funny. I feel like we could just keep going,
Oh,
but
I know every one
I
of
don't know how
these.
interesting. I don't know how interesting more would be for the other people, but no, I'm stoked, man, and thanks. It's been cool listening. I mean, like all the athletes and you know, people like Garrett and things that work for us that you've interviewed. It's been awesome because I feel like I'm learning about everybody a little, you know, some tidbits on everybody. So hopefully the audience listens to more of mine than they did to Aaron's, just so I can win that bet. But also, hopefully, people are enjoying it because I think it's really cool. It's creating like a little history of our sport, and I can't wait to hear the next ones you do too. So thanks to you
Absolutely.
for allowing me to be a part of it, and thanks for keeping this going.
Right back at you. Well, the appreciation is all over here on the other side too. So, with that being said, man, you have yourself an excellent weekend, Don.
Right on. Thanks, dude. You too.
Hey, have a good one.
All right. Thanks. See you.